Is debt beating you down? You need discipline. You need the Debt Ninja. If you've been caught in a financial trap and need to be set free, then you need the Debt Ninja. Want to stop those harassing collection calls, start saving thousands in interest and fees, and get out of debt fast? Then you need to call the Debt Ninja. The Debt Ninja will find the best companies across the country that will help you consolidate all your bills into one easy payment, reduce your payments by 30 to 50%, and get you out of debt fast. If you have unsecured debt of $10,000 or more, such as credit cards, loans, or medical bills, call the Debt Ninja for a free 15-minute consultation.
Call 800-826-1246. 800-826-1246. That's 800-826-1246. Call today.
The Debt Ninja.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to the line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you and your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark. The leader in talk radio on the internet, right here on K98Talk.com.
My name is Jessie. I'm a United States Special Forces widow. This gives me a unique perspective on the world around us. If you're willing to listen, I'll tell you how I see it, and I won't pull any punches. This is my POV, which stands for Point of View. Hi there, it's Jessie. I am so happy to be back with you guys. You know I miss you when I'm not talking to you, but when I'm not talking to you, I'm either working on a super secret project or show prep. because I got to have my show prepped. Otherwise, I just sound like a buffoon on air. And I try not to do that to you guys. I want you guys to tune in and listen and have fun with me. All right, we've got a bunch of news. As always, stuff you may not have heard from the lamestream media or the mainstream media, depending on your point of view. All right. Now, I've always got a bunch of articles. We will get through to my mailbox probably towards the end of the show. And then I've got something of a public service announcement. No, I don't normally do those, but come on. People. Really? People are winning Darwin Awards. So, yeah. It's time to talk about it. All right. I'm going to lead off with a news story about another news personality. Let me get it pulled up for you. Gretchen Carlson. For those of you that watch Fox News, you may have realized she is no longer on Fox. And I've got an article here from the Huffington Post. Fox News' on-air talent are unsurprised by the news that former host Gretchen Carlson has filed a sexual harassment lawsuit against Fox News. Chairman Roger Ailes. We thought it would happen after she was taken off Fox and Friends, said one Fox News source, who asked to remain anonymous for fear of retaliation. She kept quiet because Roger gave her the afternoon show, but everyone at Fox knew it was eventually coming. He hated her and would tell people that she was, quote, a crazy, vindictive... I'm not saying the word. Sorry. Other sources inside Fox confirmed that Carlson had threatened to file a lawsuit after Ailes removed her as host of Fox and Friends, but Carlson held off filing a suit when Ailes agreed to give her the afternoon show. Carlson was the host of the popular Fox and Friends morning program from 2006 until 2013, but was allegedly removed from the show after complaining about her male co-host, Steve Doocy. And this is an excerpt from the court document, which I have not yet verified, but I'm going to go with it. On or about September 3rd, 2009, Carlson complained to her supervisor that one of her co-hosts on Fox and Friends, Steve Doocy, had created a hostile work environment by regularly treating her in a sexist and condescending way, including putting his hand on her and pulling down her arm to shush her during a live telecast. Doocy engaged in a pattern and practice of severe and pervasive sexual harassment of Carlson, including but not limited to mocking her during commercial breaks, shutting her off air, refusing to engage with her on air, belittling her contribution to the show, and generally attempting to, quote, put her in her place by refusing to accept and treat her as an intelligent and insightful female journalist rather than a blonde female prop. Now, I haven't been able to find the audio on this story, but let's get back to the actual article rather than the excerpt. In the suit, Carlson alleges that she was mocked by Ailes for complaining about unequal treatment by male colleagues and was demoted to the afternoon show with reduced pay as retaliation. Carlson also claims that Ailes demanded sex as a way to improve her standing at Fox and told her to turn around so he could view her posterior. The demand wasn't made exclusively to Carlson. One female Fox News contributor who asked to remain anonymous said that she had a similar encounter with Ailes. He, quote-unquote, he asked me to turn around so he could see my assets. I'm changing the word a little bit. The source said about one of her meetings with Ailes. Another Fox News employee who also asked to remain anonymous for fear of retaliation said that Ailes told her that she could only wear dresses on air. She also described a story that Ailes often tells about how he chooses on-air talent. He always brags to people he doesn't do polling or testing when he chooses on-air talent. He told me if he was thinking of hiring a woman, he'd ask himself, would he have sex with her, and I'm rephrasing this a little bit. And if he would, then he'd hire her to be on camera, the source said. He then said if it was a man, he'd think about whether he could sit down for a baseball game with him and not get annoyed of him. If he could, then he'd hire him. Carlson's lawsuit, which was filed in the Superior Court of New Jersey, alleges that she was eventually fired for refusing Ailes' sexual advances. All right. First of all, it's no surprise to any of you, I am a news junkie. I watch, read, and listen to far more news than ever makes it onto this show. I have to pick the stories and make sure I'm bringing you what I feel is important. Do I think this is the appropriate way to describe how someone chooses talent? No. Do I think this is an appropriate description? I've never been with Fox News. I couldn't tell you. If these things are true, I don't like it. I don't like it, not one bit. I'm sorry. But your on-air talent should not be hired based on whether or not you could have personal relations with that person. Now, I kind of understand the baseball game test, but you could apply that to either gender. So, I mean, really? You're going to judge, and I understand, especially with television, there is an appearance factor. However, it shouldn't be the only basis. The person should also be smart, intelligent, and be able to contribute meaningfully to conversations on a wide variety of topics. When Rick asked me, when I approached Rick about a show, he's like, fine, what would you talk about? And I said, well, given my background, I'd like to cover foreign news, international news, and military. He said, sounds great. We don't have anybody doing it. Go right ahead. And that was the end of it. And for those of you who have been listening for a while, you know this show originally started out as half an hour once a week. Then it became an hour once a week. And suddenly it was an hour 5 days a week with an occasional segment on Saturdays. I am working to revive my Saturday Slowdown. It has unfortunately been derailed due to a number of personal issues and super secret projects I'm in the middle of. All right, now for you guys, what I'm going to do is I am going to get a hold of those court documents if they're available online. I will follow this story, and I will have updates when they are available and relevant. I have also reached out to Gretchen Carlson through her website about her book, offering her an interview. If she chooses to accept, what I have offered is as much time as she would like to explain her story and her television journalism career as well. And if she chooses to bring up the lawsuit, that's fine. If she chooses not to, I stated plainly in my email that I can handle this either way. All right. I think that's enough about Roger Ailes and the sexual harassment case. So we're going to move on. Oscar Pistorius and the Riva Steam Camp murder. So, give me just a second to get this to pull up. The webpage, of course, is not cooperating. But for those of you who are unaware, Oscar Pistorius was sentenced to 6 years in jail for the murder of his then-girlfriend, Riva Steam Camp. And I do have the audio on that. So, give me just a second. We will take a listen. Oscar Pistorius, the world's most famous Paralympic athlete, was sentenced to 6 years in prison for the 2013 Valentine's Day murder of his girlfriend, Reva Steenkamp. He remains in a holding cell and will be taken straight to prison. His defense team will not appeal the sentence. With good behavior, he could be eligible for parole in a few years. Pistorius, 27, was originally found guilty of culpable homicide, similar to manslaughter, in September 2014. Judge Thakzil Masipia ruled that the athlete acted negligently when he shot Steve Camp through his bathroom door in his Pretoria home, but that his actions weren't intentional and sentenced him to 5 years in prison. He spent a year behind bars in Pretoria before being granted parole and released in October. However, the Supreme Court of Appeals overturned the verdict last December and found Pistorius guilty of murder. All right, their legal system is different. You can be retried in this country until they get it right, or until you can clear yourself completely. Saying the court said that Pistorius should have known that firing his gun would kill whoever was behind the door, regardless of who he thought it was. All right, let's take a listen to the audio.
Breaking news in the Oscar Pistorius case. The Olympian sentenced this morning to 6 years in prison for killing his girlfriend on Valentine's Day 2013. ABC's Alex Marquardt is in London with the latest. Good morning, Alex.
Good morning, George. Pistorius has now already been taken to prison directly from that courtroom. This 6-year sentence is fairly surprising given that it's less than half the maximum of 15 years for non-premeditated murder, which is what the prosecution had asked for. Pistorius was stone-faced as the sentence was handed down. None of the tears that we've seen from him as he was tried for killing Reva Steenkamp. The judge said that Pistorius' genuine remorse was among the substantial and compelling reasons to not give the maximum sentence. Pistorius might not even serve the full 6 years. He's able to apply for parole after half of his sentence, so he could be out in 3 years. George?
Alex Marquardt.
Now, there was no mention of whether he could apply the time he's already sentenced. There was no mention of things like that. The judge viewed that he was a strong candidate for rehabilitation, and that he was also of the view that imprisonment will not serve a long term of imprisonment will not serve justice. And the judge said Roux had argued that a perception had been created that the strong, capable Pistorius killed Steenkamp, and it was the judge agreed and said it was the court's job to dispel this perception to prevent unjustified outrage from the public. She said that he was a strong candidate for rehabilitation and there were substantial and compelling circumstances to deviate from the prescribed 15-year minimum sentence. She disagreed with the state's claim that he did not show remorse. He apologized to the Steenkamps in court during his trial after trying unsuccessfully on several occasions to meet them to ask for forgiveness. He continued his attempts after he was jailed, but he was rebuffed. The judge said it's improbable that he would try to meet the family repeatedly to meet the family if he was not genuinely remorseful. The judge did reject the claim that Pistorius' condition had deteriorated in the last 2 years, citing evidence he'd been hoarding antidepressant medication in his cell. The Steenkamps did not show any emotion as they left the court. Their lawyer told ANC Women's League members that the law had run its course. He advised them to maintain a dignified silence. Mr. Frog's trying to make his appearance. Mr. Frog, you have been ejected from this show. Please leave. Other league members called the sentence an insult to the country's women. They sang, "What have we done?" as they stood in the street outside the court around the white car the Steenkamps were driven away in. A member of the Pistorius legal team, Andrew Fawcett, told reporters outside the court that the former Paralympian would not appeal. He would be eligible for parole after having served between 3 and 4 years. So, yes, he is back in jail. All right. Now, do I think what he did was murder? Yes. Do I think he should have been sent to jail or prison? Yes. Do I think he deserved 15 years? I don't know. I wasn't in the courtroom. However, he will be eligible for parole in 3 years. Will he return as a Paralympic athlete? Who knows? Only time will tell. So, in other sporting news, the Rio Olympics are coming up. And if you have not been living under a rock, you know there are major problems with the Rio Olympics. We are less than 1 month out. Venues aren't complete. A subway line isn't complete. Police and other people hired to protect the games are not being paid. I apologize. I seem to have caught a case of the yawns. Must be the heat. All right. So I've got some audio on this. Let's take a listen.
There are growing concerns about security in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, with less than a month to go until the Summer Olympics. The Brazilian National Force took over control of the Olympic Park Tuesday and will guard it through the end of the 2016 Games.
We are working as if there is a possibility of a terrorist threat, using modern mechanisms of intelligence, prevention, exchange of information, and tracking.
Security forces continue to try to eradicate crime throughout the city, and police are worried they won't be able to protect tourists.
No one here is a schmuck, stupid to think that it's all wonderful here. But we have a lot of conviction in defending this event and its legacy and its opportunities.
But security is not the only concern in Rio, as crews race around the clock to complete venues and a new subway line.
There is still much work to be completed in the city, and we are left with less than 1 month.
And the troubles are also reflected in ticket sales, with even many Brazilians expected to leave the city during the Games.
The tickets, we have 72% we sold, where the 92% that enter in our budget. And it's normal here that a lot of people, the Brazilians, they leave for the last moment.
The Olympic Games will open on August 5th and run until August 21st. In New York, Patricia Stark, Fox News.
All right, as you heard, that audio was from Fox News. Now, is this first of all, was Rio a mistake? It could have been. It definitely could have been. Now, to be fair, the Rio Olympics are not the first one to have similar controversies. Sochi, Russia, 2014. Oh yeah. And the Russians spent an absurdly enormous sums, to host a Winter Olympics in a summer resort in a country with serious economic inequality problems. The projected $40 million cost of the facility alone soared to $300 million during the construction, causing the Kremlin great embarrassment. Oh yeah. Hosting an Olympic Games is not cheap. The Olympics in Brazil are unfortunately headed in a similar direction. Instead of using the Games as a chance to boost and expand existing infrastructure to be of use to the residents after the Games are over, billions of dollars have been spent trying to sweep crime and poverty under the rug and build upscale developments for tourists that are unlikely to see much use by Rio residents in the long run. These developments may increase revenue from tourism for a couple months, but will ultimately do little besides put more money in the hands of private investors and wealthy individuals. Any benefit from the Olympic Games conducted this way will either be temporary or will fail to help the Rio residents who need it the most. The Olympic Games do indeed have the potential to be beneficial for developing and industrializing nations, and Rio's mistakes were not inevitable. The 2008 Beijing Olympics were praised by the International Olympic Committee for spurring improvements in food and water safety, leading to a loosening of restrictions on foreign media and for a generally successful execution. Though the games were not flawless, the 2008 games were not subject to the kind of mass corruption seen in Sochi. A similar pattern can be seen as expensive infrastructure from Athens 2004 has fallen into disuse and disrepair. The cost of building such venues and infrastructure from scratch calls into question such efforts in an otherwise struggling nations. Greece's current economic struggles cast an even greater question in retrospect as to whether this money could have been better spent elsewhere. Similar questions arrive for Brazil, I need to get another cup of coffee. Similar questions arise for Brazil as efforts to pacify Rio's favelas have led to even greater violence. Murders in Brazil have increased 15% from last year, showing marked signs of regression instead of intended progress. The takeaway from all this is that the Olympic Games are better off being hosted by cities with existing infrastructure to handle such an event. The idea that they could act as a spark for growth in developing nations is nothing more than a fantasy. Instead, they seem more likely to exacerbate existing corruption, inequality, and violence in cities such as Rio. According to new research from the economists Robert Bade and Victor Matheson, as explained by the Financial Times, the Olympics only make sense if they're hosted twice by the same city. That way the huge initial investment makes sense and ends up turning a profit. London's 2012 Olympics and the upcoming 2020 Games in Tokyo are examples of Olympics held in cities with pre-existing infrastructure with an ability to make the most out of the Games. The 2020 Olympics will be a challenge for Tokyo, but it seems likely that the well-developed city will rise to the challenges. The city also benefits from very low levels of crime. Unlike Rio, it's not at risk of being targeted by terrorists. The recent G7 summit served as a touchstone that proved Japan has the capacity to host high-level events without incidents. What's more, Tokyo was the venue of the 1964 Olympics, widely regarded as the most successful of all time. All right. Two things. We are almost at the bottom of the hour, and as I am sitting here yawning in your ear, something I do not want to be doing, guess what? We are going to take a commercial break, and I will catch you on the other side after I pay those bills!
You can lay down if you wanna. You can run away if you wanna. You can pretend that this is totally okay if you wanna. You can play dead if you wanna. Forget what they said if you wanna. Turn your back on the country needing you right now, but I don't wanna.
If you want to work until you keel over, have less of everything in retirement, or give back more of your hard-earned money to the stock market again, then just ignore me. But if you'd like to protect the money you save, receive a steady, predictable retirement income, and enjoy financial security for as long as you live, then listen to this. You can download a free report that reveals the wealth-building secrets Wall Street and the banks don't want you to know. You'll learn how you can get guaranteed growth, safety, and real prosperity without risking your money in the Wall Street casino, and how to get the money you need when you need it, simply by asking for it. This is the best way to have a 100% secure retirement, and know your money will last as long as you do. To learn more about this method, and to get your free report, go to 29security.com. That's the number 29security.com. 29security.com. Go to 29security.com. Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
You can lay down if you wanna. You can run away if you wanna. You can pretend that this is totally okay if you wanna. You can play dead if you wanna. Forget what they said if you wanna. Turn your back on the country needing you right now, but I don't wanna.
All right, thank you. And yes, I did manage to grab some caffeine while we were away at commercial break, so hopefully Mr. Yawn and Mr. Frog will find the door and exit, please. I am not bored while I am talking to you, I promise. It just seems sometimes my body has other plans. All right, now I've got a couple more stories for you that I feel are interesting enough to bring to air. And then I'll get to the one that I'm just calling the public service announcement. All right. Back to the Bangladesh cafe. Yes, we all know it was a terrorist attack, despite the fact that Bangladesh is calling them misguided youths. Come on, really? Derailed youth, misguided youth? No, they are terrorists. So, alright, the chef, a pizza chef killed during the militant attack on a cafe where he worked in Bangladesh's capital city last week, was probably in league with the assailants, police said on Wednesday. Salif Islam Chowkidar carried no arms but was seen moving and running with the 5 gunmen during the 12-hour standoff. And this was according to the Manrul Islam, the chief of counterterrorism police. At least 5 Bangladeshi men stormed the bakery, a cafe popular with foreigners, businessmen, and diplomats, and killed 20 customers, including Italians, Japanese, Indians, and Americans. Yes, there were Americans killed in this. On Tuesday, police said Chowkidar was shot dead by mistake, but Islam revised that, saying his death was not accidental. Other police were unsure about the role he played. At one point, the militants tried to escape. They came running out and started firing. The chef was with them. He is a suspected member of this group. 2 other suspects being treated in the hospital were also employees of the cafe. Police said one worked as a delivery man and the other worked in the kitchen. Before the final operations, their movements were suspicious. The attack was one of the deadliest ever in Bangladesh, where the Islamic State and Al-Qaeda have made competing claims for a series of killings of liberals and members of religious minorities. In the past year, the government has dismissed those claims and insists that the violence is homegrown. The gunmen were mostly from well-to-do families, and police gave their names, which I'm not going to give them the airtime to list their names. Their attack marked a major escalation in violence and aimed at forcing strict Islamic rule onto a predominantly Muslim Bangladesh's 160 million people. Foreign security experts say the scale and sophistication of the attack pointed to some level of guidance from international militant groups. But police are saying that Jamaat al-Mujahideen Bangladesh, JMB, an outlawed domestic group, has pledged allegiance to the Islamic State, was to blame. We have confirmed these attacks were by JMB, Islam said. Meanwhile, Islamic State warned that attacks would continue until Islamic law was established worldwide, saying in a video that the Dhaka assault was just a hint of what is to come. Okay, ISIS videos. Really? I can't stomach too many more of them. Yes, I've watched a number of them in whole, including the immolation of the Jordanian pilot, which, by the way, the King of Jordan, his response, I commend. Back to Bangladesh. Bengali said Bangladesh must know that it was part of a bigger battlefield to establish the cross-border caliphate the group proclaimed in 2014. Police said they were stepping up security in response to the video threat. All right. Why I skipped certain parts of that article, real simple. Real simple. I didn't want to give the list the attackers. As far as I'm concerned, if you are a terrorist, your name does not belong on my show. I did name the baker because it was the first time I'd found something saying that he was part of the group. So that's why I named him and not the others. All right. Do you remember Bradley Manning, or as he prefers to be called now, Chelsea Manning? U.S. soldier Manning, I'm going to skip the whole first name debate, in prison for handing over classified files to pro-transparency site WikiLeaks, was hospitalized, according to Manning's attorney, after media reports that Manning had attempted to commit suicide. The Army confirmed Manning, 28, has been released back into custody from the hospital. The ACLU attorney, Chase Strangio, said Manning's medical condition was not released. Manning was taken to a hospital near the U.S. disciplinary barracks at Fort Leavenworth, Kansas, early on Tuesday, according to U.S. Army spokesman Colonel Patrick Sieber. CNN, citing Sieber and an unnamed official, reported that Manning was taken to a hospital after an apparent attempt to take their own life. And yes, I am being careful with my pronouns. That's why I'm not using he or she. I'm just using the last name and their. Because, yes, I know Manning prefers to be referred to as her. I'm not so sure about the military paying for the sex change, so it's my own little way of putting it out there. Sieber said that officials continue to monitor the inmate's condition. Attempts to reach the military correctional facility where Manning is in prison were not successful. One of Manning's attorneys, Nancy Hollander, said in a statement on Wednesday that she was outraged over the release of her client's confidential medical information to news media. Hollander also said the Army failed to connect Manning with her lawyers for a planned phone call on Tuesday, and the earliest Army officials could accommodate a call was Friday morning. We call on the Army to immediately connect Chelsea Manning to her lawyers and friends who deeply care about her well-being and are profoundly distressed by the complete lack of official communication about Chelsea's current situation. Manning, a former intelligence analyst in Iraq, is serving a 35-year sentence after a 2013 military court convicted Manning of providing more than 700,000 documents, videos, diplomatic cables, and battlefield accounts to WikiLeaks. It was the biggest breach of classified materials in U.S. history. All right. So, Manning intended to leak the information. Hillary didn't, but we all know, if you look at WikiLeaks right now, you can look at her emails. And I'm sitting here going, what's the difference? It still ended up leaked and on WikiLeaks. Yes, there is something to say that intent is important. However, under federal law, intent is not required. So, in other news, yes, I've got more. The Islamic State, or Daesh, is now issuing its own currency referred to as the golden dinar, with engravings bearing the words Islamic State. The coins currently being released in limited quantity are primarily being used by traders in the oil industry in areas under Islamic State control, according to reports on jihadi online forums. Syrian oil traders have been ordered to use the new dinar when purchasing from Islamic State-held oil fields. Reports from the Iraqi city of Mosul have indicated the golden dinar is being introduced to the currency market as part of a serious attempt to replace the dollar. And this is according to London-based Arabic daily Al-Quds, Al Arabia said. In an online forum post seen and translated by the Foreign Desk, a German jihadi boasted that even as the U.S. and her allies continue to hound the Islamic State, the group has shown resiliency, rolling out the new currency in past days. The jihadi posts what he says are 1, 2, and 5 golden dinars, hopes this currency will bring about the collapse of the U.S. dollar and the demise of the United States. A 2015 video release entitled Dark Rise of Banknotes and the Return of the Golden Dinar, the terror group laid out its manifesto for the golden dinar in a 55-minute video, envisioning its rise would herald the death of the oppressive banknote, bringing the U.S. to her knees. The rationale behind their prediction relies on all global oil sales transactions being paid for with gold instead of dollars. A report in February claimed ISIS does most of its trade, including paying fighters' salaries, in U.S. dollars. The golden dinar is reportedly made of 4.25 grams of 21-karat gold, or approximately $163 at today's exchange rate. All right, wait a minute. So, ISIS now has their own currency. At least they've chose gold. Because if one ever falls into my lap after taking a few photos of it, I'm melting that puppy down. I am melting that puppy down. All right. I know time is fleeting, and I've got a couple more articles I want to get to. Let me check my audio list here. Yes, we've already taken care of Rio. All right. Black Lives Matter and the LGBT community in Toronto. Give me a second to pull up the article. Done with that one. Sorry, I'm just navigating my news tabs. There's the Maple Leaf. All right, and this is from theglobeandmail.com. It is about Black Lives Matter and the LGBTQ community. All right, we're going to take a listen to the audio, and then we'll talk about it.
The people at Black Lives Matter have their issues, and the police have concerns of theirs about different things, and Pride has different concerns again. And the only way you're going to sort of bring people together is to sit down and talk. And, I'm heartened to hear that people are beginning to talk now in the aftermath of this year's Pride, and I hope they can talk mostly about what a great success it was and how it was probably, the single most successful Pride that I've seen in many years of going. And it had, I think in a very significant kind of symbolic accomplishment, the Prime Minister of the country, the Premier of the province, and the Mayor of the city all marching arm in arm in solidarity with the LGBTQ2S community. So, I'm an optimist about these things, but you do have to sit and talk. And I'm looking forward to that. They have a point of view that, in a democracy and on behalf of their own group, they deserve to have aired with people in positions of leadership like me. And I'm confident that will happen. I just hope it can happen again in a way that sort of says, let's find, solutions to some of these problems, some of which are historic in nature, as opposed to anything else.
All right. Why am I bringing up Black Lives Matter and the LGBT community in Toronto? All right, let's start. Toronto's legendary Pride Parade is a festival of inclusiveness of good nature rainbow coalition that embraces every letter of the LGBT community alphabet. It is so inclusive that even straight people march in it. Its message is loud and proud and unbowed. Nobody can bully us anymore. Well, almost nobody. The new bully on the block is Black Lives Matter, a tiny group of noisy activists who borrow their branding and their belligerence from the United States. They've proved they can bully just about anyone, including City Hall, the mayor, and the provincial premier. The Pride Parade was a pushover. Black Lives Matter was this year's guest of honor at the Pride Parade. They graciously returned the favor by accusing their hosts of anti-blackness and hating the parade and halting the parade until their demands were met. "We are under attack," shouted Alexandria Williams of one of the Toronto group's co-founders, Pride Toronto. "We are calling you out," Ms. Williams said, as reported by the Toronto Star. She accused Pride of a historical and current culture of anti-blackness that is deeply embedded in the festival. You'd think just weeks after the slaughter in Orlando, they might have chosen to cede the spotlight to the dead and wounded who really were under attack. But no, the Black Lives Matter activists are firmly convinced that they are at the very top of the pyramid of oppression. Only after the Pride's executives meekly agreed to all their demands, basically more money for their projects, did they allow the show to go on. Most of these demands were harmless, but one was not. Black Lives Matter insists that the Pride Parade has to kick out the police floats, which have been a popular staple for years. This is wrong and sad and bad. Police participation in the parade is a welcome symbol of solidarity and inclusion, and also an important message to the public that gay people exist in every walk of life. But Black Lives Matter activists loathe the police, who they believe are racist to the core. So they have to go. Side note, for what it's worth, Toronto's police chief is black. All right. I understand Black Lives Matter thinks they're being oppressed. I understand that Black Lives Matter think that all cops are racist. What I'd like to know is, what are you going to do about stuff like Chicago, where some of the strictest gun control laws in the nation, there are more and more deaths, black on black crime, than I ever even want to contemplate. I mean, really? Really? All right. I am no fan of Black Lives Matter. However, I am going to attempt to figure out someone to reach out to because I really would like to talk to them about these kinds of things. And maybe I'll try and get somebody from Black Lives Matter on for a segment. I think it could be interesting. And if we get a long interview, we will do it on Saturday. Slow down. All right. Military news. The Marines have decided to allow heavier women and in some cases men to serve. For those of you who are unaware of this, the United States Armed Forces has physical fitness, height, and weight requirements. For years, the physical fitness test for the Marines has included pull-ups, crunches, and a 3-mile run, but female Marines were allowed to do a much easier exercise on a pull-up bar known as the flexed arm hang that will be replaced entirely with push-ups, with male and female Marines alike able to achieve top scores only if they do pull-ups. The Marines will also ease body fat requirements for Marines who are considered out of standards as long as they can still post high scores on their fitness test. That addressed long-held frustration among those who didn't fit existing standards because of their muscular build. Some of our Marines are very strong, very powerful, and they were always considered overweight and at risk of being kicked out of the military if they didn't lower their weight. But in their case, it wasn't a beer belly, it was muscle. I have met some Marines that have a 3% body fat who were told, lose weight or get out. Excuse me. I'd rather have that guy that can bench 300 pounds. All right. Marines today are stronger, faster, and fitter than ever, and these changes reflect that. According to the Commandant of the Marine Corps, bigger and stronger often means heavier, so tying performance on the PFT and the CFT, 2 changes to the body composition program, are improvements that we think the Marines will appreciate. In the end, it's all about improving the readiness and combat effectiveness of our Corps, and the physical fitness of every Marine contributes to that. This is a 2-year test study. They will reevaluate this program in 2 years. I think it's a good idea. I would like to see other branches follow suit. All right. I know I'm almost out of time. I'm wondering if I can run over today. I just might. Let me check the calendar. Hang on with me for 2 seconds while I check today's schedule. Yes, I am checking. Yeah, I can go a little over. The next live show is the Conservative Curmudgeon at 8 p.m. Eastern and 7 p.m. Central. Yes, the Conservative Curmudgeon will be on air tonight. So, let's continue. An interview with Libya Prime Minister says the UN-backed unity deal is unworkable. If I can get my browser to cooperate, we will discuss the story in greater detail. Libya's Prime Minister said Tuesday that the United Nations is trying to impose an unworkable agreement on the country's various factions that is screwing up the political process and will never be accepted by Parliament. Thini is the head of a weak interim government based in eastern Libya that answers to its internationally recognized parliament. In Tripoli, the capital, his rival Fayez Sarraj runs a UN-brokered presidency council and a designated government, which has failed to win Parliament's endorsement. The international community has rallied behind the UN-brokered government, hoping it can unite the country and its various militias to an Islamic State against an Islamic State affiliate and other extremist groups which have gained a foothold in the chaotic years since the 2011 uprising that toppled Muammar Gaddafi. All right. I don't normally do politics, but hello, in a UN-backed... No, it was either UN or NATO, I don't remember, but it was as part of a multinational force. The United States fired missiles into Libya to take out Gaddafi. But from what I can tell, there was no plan B for what came the next day. And this is what we're left with, essentially a failed state. We've got militias, we've got terrorists, we've got all kinds of things. The Presidency Council wants to run the state without a parliament approval. Would you accept such a farce in Europe, he told the AP in an interview in Cairo. The West is dictating a deal. Are we a testing ground for the West? He said that the two sides are deadlocked and that a UN initiative is in the works in which a unity government would shepherd the country back towards presidential elections. It was not possible to verify his account. The lingering dispute has left the country with two de facto governments and plunged public institutions into a state of paralysis. There are two diplomatic missions in Cairo, for example, which give different visas for access to eastern or western Libya. Al-Sarraj, whose council is largely confined to a naval base in Tripoli, has begun holding cabinet meetings despite not having Parliament's approval. Angry authorities based in the eastern town of Baida. The international community does not recognize Al-Thani's government, but does recognize Parliament. The Parliament views Al-Thani's government as the only legitimate one. A third government based in Tripoli has largely acquiesced to the UN-backed government's authority. The leadership crisis has left a vacuum in the rest of the country, still ruled largely by militias with varied loyalties. Abductions and extrajudicial killings are rampant. Protests frequently break out over power outages, cash shortages, and the collapse of basic services. In the eastern city of Benghazi, forces loyal to the eastern government are battling Islamic extremist militias loyal to the UN are closing in on the Islamic State affiliate insert, which has seen heavy fighting in recent weeks. The international community wants to incorporate Libya's various militias into the national army under the leadership of the Tripoli Council, which would allow it to lift an arms embargo on the oil-rich country. But the Eastern Parliament fears losing its authority over the armed forces. We are currently in a state of fragmentation, Al-Thani said. Critics of the Eastern government say it includes too many former Gaddafi loyalists and that a powerful army chief in the East, General Haftar, wants to bring back an autocratic rule. Al-Thani says it's time for reconciliation. 5 years now and we still classify people based on their loyalties. We have to turn the page of the past. All right. I think it's fascinating. And I know I am running right up against the clock. All right. Got one more story that we're going to do, and then I'm going to hold you guys over for just a minute to do a pseudo public service announcement. This one is about the Ukraine and Putin and Obama. I don't normally do politics, but this one kind of fell into my lap.
U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry arrived in the Georgian capital Tbilisi on the first stop of a tour that will include a visit to Ukraine. Kerry's trip is intended to reassure both countries of U.S. support for their goals of integration with Western institutions. Kerry and Georgian Prime Minister Georgi Kvirakashvili signed a memorandum on deepening the defense and security relationship between Georgia and the United States. Ahead of a major NATO summit this week in Warsaw, the Secretary of State reiterated his support for Georgia's NATO membership bid.
Let me begin by saying that the United States is firmly committed to NATO's open door policy, and as the allies stated in 2008 in the Bucharest Summit Declaration, Georgia will become a member of NATO. Now, we stand by that statement.
All right. So, now, In a related story, Putin called Obama to inform him about the results of his talks with the Armenian and Azerbaijani presidents, which were intended to help stabilize the situation in the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict zone. The Kremlin said the White House said Obama expressed his readiness to intensify efforts with Russia and with France as co-chairs of the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe Minsk Group. Talking about Syria, Putin called for encouraging moderate Syrian opposition to disengage quickly from the al-Qaeda-linked Nusra Front, which has been excluded from the U.S. and Russia-brokered truce in Syria, along with the Islamic State group. The Kremlin said that the two leaders reaffirmed their readiness to build up coordination of Russia and U.S. actions in Syria in the military sphere, and noted the importance of resuming peace talks. The White House did not mention stronger military coordination in its readout of the conversation. However, using an alternate acronym for Islamic State, it said that the presidents confirmed their commitment to defeating ISIL and the al-Nusra Front. It also noted Obama emphasized his concern over the failure of the Syrian regime to comply with the cessation of hostilities. Obama stressed the importance of Russia pressing the Syrian regime for a lasting halt to offensive attacks against civilians and parties to the cessation, noting the importance of fully recommitting to the original terms of the cessation. It added Obama stressed the necessity for progress on genuine political transition to end the conflict in Syria as well as sustained humanitarian access. Regarding Ukraine, Putin argued that its government needs to follow the 2015 Minsk peace deal by launching a dialogue with rebels, granting a special status to rebel regions, and preparing local elections there. Obama, meanwhile, urged Putin to take steps to end the significant uptick in eastern Ukraine and stressed the urgent importance of moving forward with implementation on the Minsk agreement. All right. Almost done, I promise, and I know I'm holding you guys over just a little bit today, but I think it's important. North Korea. Been a few days since I've said that one, but yeah, North Korea. The Obama administration has slapped new sanctions on North Korea Wednesday, taking the unusual step of placing the secretive country's top leader and 10 other officials on a blacklist for human rights abusers. North Korea is already subject to a raft of international sanctions that have been largely ineffective in stopping its leader Kim Jong-un from testing ballistic missiles and moving ahead with the ambitious nuclear weapons program. This is the first time that Kim Jong-un has been singled out personally on a sanction list, which bars U.S. individuals and businesses from dealing with him and other officials' name. Oh yeah. Under Kim Jong-un, North Korea continues to inflict intolerable cruelty and hardship on millions of its own people, including extrajudicial killings, forced labor, and torture, said Adam J. Sussman, acting Undersecretary for Terrorism and Financial Intelligence at the Treasury Department. The blacklist freezes any assets that Kim or others might have in the U.S. Treasury. In the U.S., the Treasury announcement was accompanied by a congressionally mandated report from the State Department on atrocities in North Korea. Human rights abuses in North Korea are among the worst in the world, State Department spokesman John Kirby said in a briefing reporters on the new sanction. He estimated that up to 120,000 people, including children and family members, are held in political prison camps in North Korea. Kirby acknowledged that Kim is unpredictable and could just as likely resist any pressure from these latest sanctions. But listing names of alleged abusers from such a closed, hermetical country was a valuable and difficult exercise. This puts them out in the domain in a way they wouldn't have necessarily have been. There is power in naming them. 4 months ago, the administration joined 14 other members of the United Nations Security Council to impose on Pyongyang what were portrayed as the toughest sanctions in more than 2 decades. Importantly, China, North Korea's largest economical and political patron, joined in the action, which included ordering mandatory cargo inspections, a ban on the export of most natural resources, and a prohibition on importing aviation fuel. However, previous sanctions have always been a response to North Korea's weapons program and not its human rights record, said a senior State Department official speaking anonymously in keeping with administration practices. In addition to Kim, the official noted that other top Koreans on the list include Cho Poo-il, Minister of Public Security, who is in charge of domestic surveillance and running the labor camps, and Cho Yeon-jun, Vice Director of the Guidance Department in charge of ideological purity and allegedly responsible for executions of those who defy Kim. All right. In North Korea, in case you are not a regular listener to my show, say you get a flash drive with Western television shows on it smuggled in, and you get caught watching it. Would you like to know your criminal sentence? You are executed. Executed. You're not put in a labor camp. You're not sent to jail. You are executed. Now, you may spend some time in jail first, but you will be executed for your crime. The only thing, most North Koreans do not have access to the internet, and if they do, it is a state-run internet, almost like an overgrown intranet, so that they can control every word you see and every site you can access. This is not cool. It is not freedom. It is not fair. It is just a whole host of So, if you'd like to know more about Kim Jong-un and his background, I do have an episode about Kim Jong-un and his time as a teenager. Because guess what? He had a Western-style education. Oh yeah, he was educated outside of North Korea. Now, Thad McBride, an international trade attorney at the law firm Bass, Berry & Sims, said the sanctions are mostly symbolic, especially since they include Kim Jong-un, but more action could follow. U.S. companies are prohibited from doing business with Kim or any companies he controls. Any assets he owned in the U.S. would be frozen. Blah, 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 blah. I'm skipping ahead. The sanctions will have a worldwide ripple effect because it will make it risky for any financial institution or entity around the world to hold assets for the individuals and entities named, one senior administration official said. Removing the anonymity of someone who manages forced labor camps is novel in North Korea. We think it will have an impact, another senior administration official said. This sends a message to mid-level officials that if they participate in these activities, we will know who they are. All right. Now, I know we already did the audio on this. The United States and Georgia plan to deepen their military cooperation. As Secretary of State Kerry underscored Washington's commitment to supporting the ex-Soviet nation in its long-running standoff with two separatist regions backed by Russia. The two allies signed a new military cooperation agreement during Kerry's July 6 visit to Georgia, his first to the Caucasus nation as Secretary of State. The signing came 2 days before a major NATO summit in Poland, where Russian actions in Eastern Europe will be a major topic of discussion. The United States remains steadfast in our support of Georgia's sovereignty and territorial integrity, Kerry said. Russia's occupation and militarization of parts of Georgia territory are unacceptable. Russia has backed separatist Georgian territories of Abkhazia and South Ossetia and recognized both as sovereign nations following a brief 2008 war with Tbilisi. Only a handful of other countries have followed suit in deeming the breakaway territories independent nations. Kerry demanded that Russia, which maintains troops in both Abkhazia and South Ossetia, adhere to the truce ending the 2008 war. The memorandum signed by Kerry and the Georgian Prime Minister Georgi Kirshveli pledges a deepening of defense and security relationship. It also aims to boost Georgia's cybersecurity and modernize the country's security forces to enable their integration with NATO, with which Georgia aspires to join. American security support for Tbilisi has until now largely focused on training Georgian forces for deployment in Iraq and Afghanistan. The memorandum provides a new framework for deepening partnership and covers fields of cooperation that are critically important for strengthening Georgia's security and enhancing its defense capabilities. Kerry travels on July 7th to Kyiv, where he's expected, not Kiev, K-Y-I-V, where he's expected to discuss ways of ending Ukraine's continuing war against Russia-backed separatists in the east of the country. Both Kyiv and Tbilisi have sought deeper integration with the West since Russia's military seizure and forced annexation of the Ukraine's Crimea territory in March of 2014 and the ensuing war in eastern Ukraine. Moscow has objected fiercely to Georgia's bid for NATO membership, which said that in 2008 that Tbilisi would eventually join the military alliance. Progress towards NATO ascension for Georgia has stalled, however, sparking frustration among top officials in Tbilisi, who say that alliance members are hindering the process due to fears of an angry Russian reaction. This Georgian officials say essentially gives the Kremlin veto power over who can join NATO. Kerry pledged that the alliance would reaffirm its promise of Georgian membership but could not provide a timeline for its ascension. Obviously, we have great respect for your desires as a country to be able to look to the West and engage with the West without punishment and without retribution, Kerry said. All right. Now, in case you missed the audio earlier, we are going to replay it just for a second because I also talked over part of it.
U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry arrived in the Georgian capital Tbilisi on the first stop of a tour that will include a visit to Ukraine. Kerry's trip is intended to reassure both countries of U.S. support for their goals of integration with Western institutions. Kerry and Georgian Prime Minister Georgi Kvirakashvili signed a memorandum on deepening the defense and security relationship between Georgia and the United States. Ahead of a major NATO summit this week in Warsaw, the Secretary of State reiterated his support for Georgia's NATO membership bid.
Let me begin by saying that the United States is firmly committed to NATO's open door policy, and as the Allies stated in 2008 in the Bucharest Summit Declaration, Georgia will become a member of NATO. Now, we stand by that statement.
All right. Now, I've got one more, and then we're going to do my PSA and then a quick trip through my mailbox today. Didn't want you to miss out on my mailbox. Never know what I've got hiding in there. All right. This story is from Mediaite. Activist admits she lied about rapist ethnicity to avoid more hatred against migrants. A German rape victim admitted in an interview with Der Spiegel that she lied about her rapist ethnicities because she wanted to avoid sparking backlash against refugees. In January, Celine Gorin was attacked by 3 men in the city of Mannheim and forced to perform a sex act. Gorin, who works as a refugee activist and a spokeswoman of the left-wing organization Solid, told police her attackers spoke German, were a mixed group of foreigners and locals, but 12 hours later, Gorin returned to the police to admit she'd lied. Her attackers were all foreigners, and they were actually speaking Arabic and Farsi. Gorin explained she wanted to avoid the controversy because when a group of migrants reportedly of Arabic and North African origins sexually assaulted and robbed over 100 people on New Year's Eve in Cologne. What really hurt me is the fact that the sexist and over-the-line incident that happened to me will inevitably lead to a more aggression and racism, she wrote in her Facebook page in a now-deleted post. Okay, I'm sorry. I feel this activist was wrong. You should never lie to the police, and you must always call a spade a spade. If they had been a mixed group of locals and foreigners, fine. If they were not, fine. But in either case, tell the truth and get on with it. All right. I've been teasing you about this public service announcement. If you own a selfie stick and use it routinely for selfies, beware. I have a list of serious injuries and deaths in which victims or a member of their group for group selfies took a selfie or prepared to do so, and they are deceased or have suffered a major injury. Oh yeah. As of February 2016, India has recorded more selfie-related deaths than any other country. Mumbai sets no selfie zones as deaths linked to selfies rise. More people died taking selfies in India in the last year than anywhere else in the world. These are the second story was from the Washington Post on March 6, 2016. All right, I'm going to read out a few of these injuries that all could have been prevented. An 18-year-old boy drowned in the Ganges River while taking a selfie after bathing with his mother and a friend in Nobadwip of West Bengal State in India. On June 3rd, Demontez Jones shot and killed himself while attempting to take a selfie at home with his father's gun. All right, I got to expand on this one. He was holding a loaded, because I actually looked this one up. He was holding a loaded revolver to his head with one hand and a selfie stick to the other. First of all, gun safety, folks. You never point a loaded weapon at anything you don't want to shoot. And I may have to get my friend Slickery Trigger from Rebel Road Tactical on here to explain this to you folks. In fact, Slick, maybe you can help me with the Saturday Slowdown segment on gun safety. We could use one around here. All right, then. So that's problem one. Secondly, I wouldn't advise taking a photo with a weapon pointed at your head anyway. It sends all the wrong messages. It is not cool. And also, when you are taking a photograph with a weapon, unless the photograph is being taken while you are firing that weapon, your finger should not be anywhere near the trigger. It should be flat out, outside of the trigger guard. Please, I love my listeners. Hopefully none of you are this Darwin Ward eligible. On June 23rd, Jayesh Baria fell while taking a selfie in the Sindra Dam near Vadodara, India. His friend Pamar then jumped in the water to save him, but they both drowned. Really? Okay. If someplace is roped off and you are not supposed to walk there, please do not step over the barricade thinking I'll just grab a quick selfie. A 16-year-old boy was killed by a passenger train while taking a selfie with an approaching train. In India, the teen reportedly walked in front of the train and waited for it to come closer before taking the photo. A college student drowned after falling off the Waldev Devi Dam in Nashik, India, were taking a selfie. An Argentinian crowd seeking selfies was held responsible for the death of a La Plato dolphin. It has, however, been claimed that the dolphin was already dead. In Goa, 5 people fell off a cliff and were injured. A man in Concrete, Washington, shot himself in the face with a gun and died while taking a selfie. Oh yeah. I'm looking through these real quick, trying to find any more good ones. I mean, I have no problem with you taking selfies. A Japanese tourist fell down a staircase to his death while taking a selfie at the Taj Mahal. A 17-year-old Russian student fell to his death attempting to take a selfie while hanging from a 9-story building. An Indian engineering student died while taking selfies with his friends when the rock on which he was standing cracked and gave way, plunging him 60 feet and causing his death from head injuries. A 14-year-old from Barcelona was hospitalized with electric shock after trying to take a selfie on the roof of a train car. Do I need to explain this any further, people? Do I? Please? If you are going to take a selfie, by all means, have fun with it. But please, please, please make sure you are in a safe location in which to take said selfie. There is no need for you to be standing on the roof of a train car. If you're taking a selfie on a train, please be inside the passenger car or on a train car that is parked in a location and you have permission to get on it. If you are taking a selfie at a well-known tourist location such as a cliff or a waterfall and there is a security rope preventing you from getting closer to the edge, please observe it. I do not want to hear of anyone I know dying or landing in the hospital from selfies. Come on, people. I think I've made my point on that, so we will move along. All right, now we're going to take a quick trip through my mailbox. Let's see what I got. And nothing new on that one. Hang on, I'm still flipping. Looking for a good one here. Looking for one with stories I haven't already pulled. In China on July 5th, the Global Times, a strongly nationalistic English news government-controlled paper, published an editorial about the disputes in the South China Sea. It recommended that China must be prepared for any military confrontation. Some quotes from the editorial have gone viral on the web. Western media have tended to quote excerpts out of context. The text follows. As the result of the international arbitration over the South China Sea dispute approaches, China is undertaking a military drill from July 5th to 11th in the waters around the Xisha Islands in Western media reports. The exercise is happening at a sensitive time because the arbitral results will be announced on July 12th. Beijing has announced its position on neither participation nor recognition of the arbitration. The South China Sea dispute has been greatly complicated after heavy U.S. intervention. Now an international tribunal has also been included, posing more threat to the integrity of China's maritime territorial sovereignty. Okay, what else do we have? Hang on, I'm looking. I think we get it. The Chinese side firmly upholds its territorial sovereignty and maritime rights and interests in South China Sea. At the same time, we persist in resolving relevant disputes. All right, we already know this. Come on. There's got to be something else in this. All right, I think we're going to leave that with one article from my mailbox. I'm not being able to pull anything else up quickly. So I have already held you guys over quite a while, so we are going to get on up out of here. I'm out of here. Catch you next time.
You can lay down if you wanna. You can run away if you wanna. You can pretend that this is totally okay if you wanna. You can play dead if you wanna. Forget what they said if you wanna. Turn your back on the country needing you right now, but I don't wanna.
Sorry, my show ran over.